Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really get to the heart of things, and today, wow, we're diving headfirst into something that, well, it often stops us in our tracks. Risk. We're going to dig into what it really means to embrace risk, especially when you're chasing a purpose or trying to live out something you deeply believe in. And we've got some fascinating sources lined up, an ancient biblical story that still feels urgent, a really gripping personal account from a modern mission field, almost sounds like a movie, and some powerful thoughts on leadership and theology, too. Our guideposts, though, 5 words from Queen Esther. If I perish, I perish. We'll use that phrase, that declaration, as a lens to look at leadership, courage, and maybe what makes for a life well lived.
Yeah, it's a great focus because our whole modern obsession with safety, it often just clashes, doesn't it, with these older, maybe spiritual calls to be brave. We'll try to connect those dots today, see how this age-old challenge of risking something for a purpose is still so relevant, even if we, try to engineer all the risk out of life. Sometimes maybe we engineer the meaning out, too.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with Esther. Her story is just such a powerful picture of risk. Think about it. Ancient Persia. King Xerxes banishes Queen Vashti for defying him publicly, needs a new queen. So this massive beauty contest happens, and Esther, a young Jewish woman, somehow ends up becoming queen.
Sounds
like fairy tale, right?
Totally does. But things get dark, fast. Enter Haman. Xerxes promotes him, gives him huge power, and Haman demands everyone bow down. But Mordecai, Esther's uncle, who's Jewish, refuses. That classic standing on principle.
And Haman, he completely loses it. Wounded pride, just pure rage. It's not enough to punish Mordecai, oh no. He plots to wipe out all the Jews in the kingdom. He sells this horrible plan to Xerxes, who kind of cluelessly signs off on it. That's when Mordecai sends this urgent message to Esther, begs her to step in, tells her, maybe you're here for such a time as this.
Talk about pressure, an immense burden. And what's so real is Esther's first reaction, fear. Absolute fear. You see, it was literally against the law to go to the king without being called, punishable by death.
And she hadn't even been summoned for 30 days. That's a long time.
Oh.
Makes you wonder about your standing, right? Let alone risking your neck.
Exactly. So her life is on the line, but it's bigger than that. It's the survival of her entire people. She's trapped between personal safety and, well, everything.
And that's when she says it. Those incredible, chilling words. If I perish, I perish.
Yeah, and that line, it's not just throwing caution to the wind, is it? It's commitment. A calculated commitment. She understands the potential, the ultimate cost, and she chooses it anyway. It's about stepping into that risk for something greater.
That kind of commitment feels almost alien today, doesn't it? It reminds me of C.S. Lewis, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Lucy asks, is Aslan the lion is safe?
Oh, yeah, great quote.
And Mr. Beaver says, of course he isn't safe, but he's good. He's the king, I tell you.
That hits it right on the head. We, especially maybe in the West, we've really put safety on a pedestal, haven't we? And one of our sources argues this has led to, well, an unbiblical understanding of God. Like we've remade God into someone safe, someone predictable.
Someone who wouldn't ask for anything too hard, maybe.
Exactly. A.W. Tozer talked about this. He described the God of the modern evangelical as rarely astonishing, someone who follows our rules, a very well-behaved God. And the source suggests this creates a kind of fake theology, the idea that God would never ask for anything difficult or dangerous, nothing costly. And then you hit this wall, this cognitive dissonance, when you read stories like Esther's or, frankly, Jesus' own words about taking up your cross. It makes you think, oh, if it feels risky, it can't be from God.
But real purpose often lives in that difficult space.
Oh.
Okay, let's shift gears to a really compelling personal story from one source. The author, when he was just 23, on a summer mission, selling Bibles, books about Jesus in a Muslim country. This sounds like something out of a spy movie. So they start distributing these locally printed books, thinking it's all above board legal, but then boom, first 2 weeks, one team member gets arrested, doesn't come back. The rest have to pack up, move in the dead of night. And here's where it gets wild. The arrested guy eventually shows up again. He'd had this, spiritual James Bond escape from jail, complete with life-weight lice. That detail just makes it so gritty and real, doesn't it? How did he even find them again?
Yeah, it's incredible. The source doesn't detail the how of the reconnection, probably some careful, quiet contact once he was clear. But yeah, it just throws you right into the unpredictability, the inherent risks, even when you think you're playing by the rules. And his escape just set the stage for more drama for the author's own team.
Right, because they relocate, but it's not over. Almost 2 weeks in the new city, selling books again. The author's team gets arrested, the whole team. Police take their van, their books, everything. They end up in this holding station with Palestinians, Egyptians, sleeping on park benches using cardboard, trying to keep spirits up, playing coin games with the guards. Crazy.
Just imagine the uncertainty, the fear.
After 3 days, a judge puts them under house arrest in a hostel. Still no passports, no supplies. So they make this bold move. They just wander away from the hostel on foot, end up outside the U.S. Embassy. And then, out of nowhere, this young Muslim guy walks up. Perfect English. Ask what's going on. They figure, what do we got to lose? They tell him everything.
Wow, just laying it all out there. Vulnerable.
And it works. He says, my father was a judge, then a senator. Their hopes shoot up. Then he adds, he's dead, but I still think I can help you. And this teenager, who's actually heading to the U.S. for college on a soccer scholarship, pulls it off. Within 2 days, he gets them released, gets their passports and supplies back, and then insists on showing them Middle Eastern hospitality dinner, overnight stay before they leave the city. Just unbelievable.
What a story. And it drives home that point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Big impact opportunities often walk hand in hand with significant risk. The author later said, they weren't ever in real mortal danger, maybe, but it opened a window to what others truly risk for their faith. And that question from the experienced mission worker later, what did you think was going to happen? Oof, that lands hard. It challenges our hidden expectation that things should somehow be safe, even in unsafe places.
And get this, the story doesn't even end there. They moved to another city after that, kept going, and got arrested again. This time a judge gave them 3 months in jail, but suspended it if they left the country. So that finally ended the summer trip.
It just screams it, right? Impact and risk are linked. John Piper put it so well. He said something like, it is not risky to shoot yourself in the head. The outcome is certain. It is risky to serve Christ in a war zone. You might get shot. You might not. He urged people to be continual, loving risk takers, accepting that uncertainty is just baked into the process of pursuing bigger things.
That makes me think about how we view risk takers. We love the historical ones, right? Esther, Paul, the saints in church history. And we admire the contemporary ones, if they're far away, on another continent.
There's definitely comfort in distance, isn't there? That's the dilemma one source points out. When it's someone local, someone in our world, taking big risks for their beliefs, we might sort of label them fanatics, maybe to excuse our own comfort. It's such a contrast to how we view soldiers, for example. Their risk, their sacrifice for country, that's held in high esteem, seen as necessary. But risk for faith, closer to home. Sometimes we react very differently.
Yeah, and this isn't just theoretical. Look at a huge issue today. Global migration. Millions displaced by war, by terror.
Yeah.
Many end up in refugee camps, hoping maybe to resettle somewhere like the U.S. These are often people from places Christianity hasn't reached easily.
Right, and here's the paradox the sources highlight. You have many self-identified Jesus followers in the U.S. who strongly oppose refugee resettlement. Why? Safety concerns, fear. But the data, according to one source, tells a different story. Your chance of being killed by a refugee terrorist in the U.S., about 1 in 3.64 billion per year. That's statistically similar to, dying from falling out of bed. It really puts those safety concerns into perspective, doesn't it?
1 in 3.64 billion. That's staggering.
Yeah.
So even if the statistical risk is vanishingly small, why do those fears feel so big, so persuasive?
Well, it's complicated for sure. Fear is powerful. But the source makes this crucial point. Safety and compassion are not mutually exclusive. And it exposes that irony. Some say it's too dangerous to go to these people in their home countries. But then when they come here seeking refuge, the same voices say it's too dangerous to welcome them. It becomes this kind of closed loop, a rationale for disengagement built on a perception of risk that might not match reality.
Okay, let's circle back to Esther again, because her story isn't just about raw guts. It's also about smarts, strategy. When Mordecai asks for help, yes, she calls for serious prayer and fasting for 3 days. But crucially, she comes out of that prayer time with a plan. She didn't just barge in, did she? No. She puts on her royal robes, stands strategically where the king can see her, waits for him to hold out the golden scepter, the signal she won't be killed. Then she speaks. And what does she ask for? Not help, not yet. She invites the king and Haman to a banquet. And at that banquet, she still holds back, invites him to another banquet the next day. Only then does she make her plea. That's incredibly calculated.
Absolutely. And here's the key insight Esther offers. Deep faith doesn't mean ditching your brain. She shows us that prayer and planning aren't opposed. They're partners. It's not faith or strategy, it's faith and strategy. She models this beautiful blend, deep reliance on God, coupled with thoughtful, careful execution. Impactful leadership often looks like that.
And this isn't just ancient history. One source gives a modern example. 12 Stone Church in Atlanta. founder Kevin Myers. He had this huge vision, launch 5 new campuses all at the same time. For an established church, that felt like a massive risk. So much could go wrong. It sounds kind of like Esther's high-stakes gamble, but in a modern church context.
It does. But for Myers, it was felt as an unmistakable God prompt. So what did they do? Exactly what Esther did in principle. Combined serious prayer and strategic planning. It fueled what the source calls vision-driven risk. Not recklessness, but a faith-filled, carefully planned leap aimed at significant impact. Wisdom and zeal together.
So planning and prayer, they go together. But what if we just don't take the risk at all? Play it safe. Jesus actually told a story about this, didn't he? The parable of the minas in Luke 19. A nobleman gives 10 servants 1 mina each, maybe 3-month wages, and says, put this money to work until I come back.
Yeah.
It's about what we do with what we're given, right?
Exactly. And the results are worlds apart. The servants who took a risk, invested the mina, made more. One got 10 times back, another 5 times their praised. Rewarded, given big responsibility, like ruling cities. But then there's the servant who played it safe. He just kept it laid away in a piece of cloth, hid it. And the nobleman is furious, asks him, why didn't you at least put my money on deposit, get some interest? The clear message is that the mina stands for our gifts, our opportunities, everything God gives us to advance his kingdom, and just hoarding it, protecting it, that's risk-averse behavior. And the king, or God in the parable, will not reward that. The source sums it up bluntly. I wasn't asking you to protect the seeds. I wanted you to produce fruit.
Wow. Playing it safe is actually disobedience in that light. Okay, another story, another hero from the sources. C.T. Studd embodied the opposite of playing it safe. Born rich in England, could have had an easy life. Instead, pioneer missionary. China, India, then Africa. Despite terrible health problems, described as a museum of diseases. Incredible. And he had that famous quote, some wish to live within the sound of church or chapel bell. I want to run a rescue shop within a yard of hell. Just powerful. But here's a twist. Age 50, feels called back to Africa. Business guys offer to fund him, but only if the doctor says it's okay. Given Studd's health, the doctor gives a hard red light. No go. So the funding is pulled when Studd says, nope, I'm going anyway, no limits. A museum of diseases, a doctor's warning, funds cut, and he still goes.
He does. And his response to the friends trying to hold him back for his own good, so profound. He said, too much love is sometimes as bad as too much hate. He refused the limits, declared, God has called me to go, and I will go. I will blaze the trail, though my grave may only become a stepping stone that younger men may follow. And he did just that. Went to Africa, founded WEC International, and died there 20 years later, blazing the trail. It echoes the Apostle Paul, doesn't it? In Acts 21, the prophet Agabus warns him, go to Jerusalem, you'll be bound, handed over. His friends weep, beg him not to go. But Paul says, why are you weeping and breaking my heart? I am ready not only to be bound, but also to die in Jerusalem for the name of the Lord Jesus. It's Esther's, if I perish all over again, centuries later. That same unwavering commitment.
It really is. Yeah. Which leads to this really sobering warning from the sources. This risk-averse version of following Jesus is easily passed on, often by people who love us, people acting out of too much love, who unintentionally block bold, purposeful action. It's a subtle danger, that well-meaning discouragement. Wow, what a deep dive this has been. Ancient Persia, modern missions, lions that aren't safe but good, arrests, escapes, strategy, parables, all these different threads, but they keep pointing to the same core truth about risk and living a life of purpose.
Yeah, the takeaway feels really clear, doesn't it? The biggest chances for impact often require the biggest risks, the biggest sacrifices. These stories challenge us, they challenge you to question your comfort zone, to maybe redefine what safe really means when it comes to your unique purpose, and to see that prayer and planning aren't enemies of courage, they're essential partners in courageous action.
So we want to leave you with this to think about. How do these stories need to? Esther, that summer team, C.T. Studd, the servant with the hidden mina. How do they speak to your understanding of risk right now? Where might that well-intentioned too much love from others, or maybe just your own desire for safety, be holding you back from really putting your mina to work, from stepping into the impact that often comes only through bold ventures?
And let's end by building on John Piper's thought. If shooting yourself is certain, but serving in a war zone means you might get shot or you might not, what uncertain, potentially risky, but impactful war zone of purpose might you be called to step into? Knowing the potential reward, the fruit, is immense. Something to chew on this week.